This is another episode of the Nosebleeds with the last word on NFL. Shout out to them. Check out the last word on sports. Their page has got great articles, great podcasts on there as well. Follow that there. Also follow us, like, subscribe here on YouTube. Get this thing rocking. But we're going to not even waste any time today. We're getting right into it. We got NFL Thursday. This is going to be a predictions kind of show, talking about the games that are coming up on Sunday. Also, though, I'm going to give out some stuff, but Sunday I'm going to give out some bets. I'm going to give you some great parlays that I like, couple anytime touchdowns, but mostly I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 teams that I think you should bet every week that have great lines this week. But this is about, we're in the stretch run of the NFL. This is about wins. This is about losses. This is about standings. This is about getting to that Super Bowl. And the first game we're going to actually talk about is going to be Denver versus Houston. I think that this game is going to be, I personally think it's going to be electric. You've got Houston's favored by 3.5. Right now at home. They play better at home than on the road. Last week we saw them suffer a tough loss, miss 58-yarder at the buzzer. But CJ Stroud, 304 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 6 carries, 47 yards and a touchdown, getting them with the legs as well. He showed in the national semifinals game last year that he can actually run a lot. This year, he's used his legs more so to get him out of trouble rather than to actually take off and run. I would like to see him implement that a little bit more into his game, because I feel if you had to worry about him running for 35, 40 yards a game, you'd be like, oh, that's like a next step for him. Like the way you have to with Mahomes. I feel like when Mahomes is like that next step. Like Aaron Rodgers was at one level where you're like, okay, I'm 3rd and 8. We can't stay too far back. We've got to watch out for him a little bit. Mahomes is taking that to like 3rd and 15. You can't take too far back. You've got to actually watch him run in here too. Obviously, Stroud's not Lamar. He's not Hurts. He's not even Josh Allen. But he's definitely a guy who can get out there and run. Kind of reminiscent of the quarterback he's playing. He feels like a young Russell Wilson, a guy who takes care of the ball, can extend plays, can get the ball downfield, but is smart and understands what his team needs and what he needs to do to win. On the other side, you've got Denver, who is one of the hottest teams in the league right now. It's them and Philly, I believe, that have the longest win streaks at the moment. I'm not sure if they're tied with Philly. I think Philly might have it a little longer, but I believe they won 5 in a row. Denver is a team, they need this. Both teams really need this. They're fighting for that 7th or 6th spot. Denver's not catching the Chiefs in the division. With that loss, the Jags pretty much have it locked because the Texans wouldn't even have the tiebreaker with them now. So they're really just chasing that wild card spot. I've got the Texans winning this game 31-24. I think that the reason why the Broncos have been getting W's is because they've been forcing a lot of turnovers. And the Texans don't really turn the ball over all that much. CJ had that one game with 3 picks. I think he has 6 on the season. Not a terrible amount, maybe only 5, but I just don't see him really turning the ball over at the clip that the Broncos have been forcing. They played the Jags last week. They've been one of the highest teams of turning you over, and he played a clean game. Obviously, they ended up losing that game, but he plays clean football. He makes little to no mistakes week to week. He makes high level throws with low level mistakes. It's like he's semi Josh Allen. He doesn't have the upside of Josh Allen, like with how high level plays he makes, but it's like Josh Allen. Imagine Josh Allen when he made no mistakes or little mistakes like he did in 2020 with Brian Daboll, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks with Stephon Diggs. They got to, I believe that was the year they got to the AFC Championship game and lost to the Chiefs that year. But I have the Texans beating the Broncos. I think that's going to be a fun game. But I do think that the fact that the Texans are not going to get turned over like the other teams have. I believe the Broncos are plus 12 in the differential over their last 5. I think that they're going to outlast. Moving on. Where do I want to go next? Actually, I'm just going to kind of focus on the AFC North. This is a big week. Every weekend's a big weekend for the AFC North. So you've got Pittsburgh. They're playing Arizona at home. We saw them finally put up 400, as I said, without Matt Canada. Finally saw him put up a 400-yard game, but they only put up 16 points. They weren't getting enough touchdowns with getting into the red zone. I think this week they can get a little bit more. Arizona has not been great against the run, and Najee went over 100 last week. It's been the first time. Fantasy owners must love that. Haven't seen Najee go over 100 in a while. Jaylen Warren didn't even have one of his best games. I think with the tandem of those two, they can run for probably $150 combined and maybe give you 1 or 2 touchdowns. Arizona is going to be interesting always because you have Kyler, who is electric with his feet. He likes Dortch. He's got Rondale Moore. I think Mac Wilson might be back this week. McBride, Marquise Brown. They've got a couple weapons here and there. They're really small. But I think when it comes down to it, too, the best unit playing is going to be the Steelers' defense. The best player playing is going to be T.J. Watt. And T.J. Watt's going to have something to say about this game. The Arizona line is much to be desired. They're not going to be able to contain him. I do think it'll be close, though. I got 24-20 Pittsburgh over Arizona. Going to the other team who has a 7-4 record, we got the Browns. They're going to L.A. Kind of a home game, kind of a road game, because everybody who plays in L.A. is going to have fans there. The Browns fans do travel well. For being as inept as they've been over years, they do have a very strong fan base. The dog pound is alive and well, especially with this defense here. Myles Garrett does look like he's going to play. So even if he's not 100%, Myles Garrett on the field, probably going to be the best defensive player on the field. All respects to Aaron Donald. But the most important part of this game, is no other than Joe Money Flacco is likely starting for the Browns. Joe Money Flacco might be starting and probably is starting for the Cleveland Browns. That is amazing. I can't wait. I really can't wait. This guy, big time. He's a big time player. He really is big time. So playoff-wise, he had one of the best playoff runs we've ever seen from a quarterback, 11 touchdowns, 0 picks on an actual Super Bowl run. He was amazing there. He seems to rise up to big games. And this is a big game for them. They can't keep losing. They lose, they might fall out of the playoff picture here very shortly. But the Rams can't lose either. They've put themselves back in the playoff position. Kyron Williams last week ran like a man possessed, ran like the last game he played before he was injured, which was against the Cardinals. I think he ran for $158 against the Cardinals on 20 carries prior to playing the Cardinals again. So big time game from him. I think he's going to have a good game. I don't think he's going to do the same thing. The Browns defense is too good for that, but they don't travel as well. But I do think with Joe Flacco, I'm taking the upset here. You've got the Rams favored by 3.5, but I have got the Browns 24-21. That is not something I'm confident to bet. You'll see what my bets are on when it comes to Sunday. But I just have this feeling that Joe Flacco is going to control the pace. Amari Cooper says it's been poetry in motion for him. This might be the most comfortable they've had as a quarterback all season long, with Deshaun being whatever Deshaun has been this year. Obviously, Dorian Thompson-Robinson has been solid, but he's a runner. PJ Walker has been PJ Walker. So maybe Joe Flacco does something crazy with Elijah Moore, with Amari Cooper, with David Njoku, Kareem Hunt, who I think is questionable, but I think he should play, and Jerome Ford. We'll see, though. It's going to be very interesting. And then we're not going to really worry about the other AFC North teams because the Ravens are on a bye. since he plays the Jags should take care of business. If Joe Burrow was there, we'd be focusing on that game. With no Joe Burrow, we're not too concerned about that game. That game should be over by half. We're going to move on to a game that has a lot of pride implications for me on it, and it is Detroit playing the Saints. I think that Detroit is a team that can get to the divisional round and can challenge one of the three-headed monsters, which is going to be Dallas, San Fran, and Philly, not in that order. But, I mean, they have their identity, but Jared Goff can't turn the ball over. They're playing in a dome. They're going to New Orleans. That's sometimes a tough place to play. They do have a good crowd there. They're going to be rocking there in the Superdome. But if the Lions are a true 8-3 team, if the Lions are a true playoff contender, a true Super Bowl-ish contender, I'll say an NFC championship game contender, they've got to pull this game out. This game's got to be won, and to me, it's got to be semi-convincing. It doesn't have to be a 25-point win or 30-point win or anything like that. Getting wins in the NFL is hard enough, but it's got to be a game, to me, you can't have a game where you're shaky. The Saints team's not good enough. The 49ers are too good, the Eagles are too good, the Cowboys are too good. You've got to show that you can play some football. Obviously, when you play them head-to-head, that's going to matter most. And you play the Cowboys close to the end of the season, but this has got to be a game you get a W in. I think they do. I've got this game 26-17. The Saints haven't been too great against the run. We did see what Bijan did to him last week. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery can replicate some of that via air and via the ground. So it's going to be interesting, but I think that Detroit, if they are who we think they are, or at least I believe them to be, they should get a dub, and they should get it pretty simply. NFC South-wise, we're going to kind of bounce right into that. Obviously, the Saints, I think they're going to lose this week. Atlanta, they're playing the Jets. I think they're going to win. I don't always trust Arthur Smith, especially when it's coming, but he understands that Bijan's their best player. Wow, that's great. I'm glad you understood that Bijan's your best offensive player. You drafted him that high for a reason. Last couple games, you've actually played him a lot, and lo and behold, he's put up a lot of yards, he's put up touchdowns, and you guys are scoring points. Who knew? Who knew that could happen? Maybe if you... Oh, calm down, kid. Maybe if you did the same with Kyle Pitts, be kind of cool. You have pretty cool offense, but we'll never see that. We don't know. But Tim Boyle's not going to be able to put up points. The Jets defense will make it kind of interesting, but I got a 20-9 Falcons. And then you've got Tampa seeing Carolina. That's going to be in Tampa. Tampa's a better team. Tampa has more talent. Tampa's going to win this game, but Frank Reich fired. We know that weird little push that teams get the week after their coach is fired. Be interested there. We actually saw it with Carolina last year. Also, I don't know, firing your coach twice, your head coach back-to-back seasons mid-season, you can't even let them finish? They need, whoever their next coach is must be scared that they might not make it halfway through the season. They don't have the personnel there. Obviously, you got to coach well, but you don't have the personnel on that team. But people didn't like him in the locker room, per se. People are happy that he's gone. So Frank Reich makes sense, but whoever they get in there next, they need to make sure is actually going to be a coach. But I've got Tampa winning this game 25-20. I'm going to bounce to two more games real quick. The second to last game, I've got KC going to Green Bay. I think KC started to find themselves last week. They seem to click a little bit on offense. Rashee Rice had over 100 last week. I think they continue to show that they can score points. I don't think it's going to be particularly easy early, but I do think they'll pull away late. Green Bay showed last week that they're here to stay as playoff contenders in the sense, not actual contenders for the Super Bowl, but contenders to make the playoffs. They put themselves in position to try to be in a wild card trying to be in the wild card, especially with Minnesota now faltering. They're not sure what they're going to do with Josh Dobbs. Maybe they can overtake them. But the Chiefs are just too good. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they're just too good. I understand Jordan Love has been playing very well. I believe it's 588, 5 touchdowns, no picks over your last 2 games. But they're just not good enough. I got a 30-20 Chiefs. I just don't think they have them as much talent as the Chiefs, of course. The Chiefs defense has a little bit more talent on it, and then Mahomes puts it away for him. And the last but not least game at all, again featuring Philly. We got San Fran heading to the link, heading to Philly in a disrespectful, let me repeat, a disrespectful line to Philly. +3? Some places you can get a +2.5, but +3? Really? Really? They're 10-1. I understand they just played the Bills in overtime in an emotional game, but they stayed home. I understand that they played the Chiefs before in KC, but they won both of those games. We saw the 49ers, they're coming off of beating the Seahawks handily. We understand that they're on a 3-game winning streak. We saw what they just did to the Jags as well. But the Eagles are 10-1 at home, and they're somewhere's 2.5, somewhere's a 3-point dog. It just can't happen. I just don't see how it happens. Are you saying, Vegas, that the 49ers at full strength are about 5.5 to 6 points better than the Eagles at full strength? Or are you saying just because of the gauntlet that the Eagles have gone through and the fact that the 49ers are coming off of Thanksgiving, so they have extra rest, that's better? I don't know what you're saying. But what you're telling me right now is the 49ers should win this game, but I don't believe they do. If you told me this game was a blowout, I actually would lean towards the 49ers side. What that means is everything I just laid out that Vegas probably thinks actually happened. The Eagles are due for a loss. They lose. The Eagles are not able to block Nick Bosa, and they're able to get blocked Jalen Carter, Hassan Reddick, and their back end is able to be thrown upon. Brandon Ayuk has a big game. George Kittle, CMC, Debo Samuel, maybe Jawan Jennings even. Whomever they want to put in there. They've got a litany of opportunities and a litany of people to throw at them. But I don't think that this game is going to go that way. I do think Hassan Reddick is going to be able to get to the quarterback. I do think Jalen Carter will be able to get to the quarterback. They're going to make things tough on Brock Purdy. They're going to, in the rain, make this game a little muddy. Not literally, but figurative, a little muddy. And in a close game, you've got to favor the team who just wins. Win close games. We've seen the 49ers, they've lost to the Browns late. I understand those a 41-yard missed field goal. Brock Purdy did get him down, but he did also get him to that position. We saw them lose to the Vikings, him throwing multiple picks. Again, he threw 2 picks after he possibly had a concussion and then played the Bengals the next week on that concussion. And you don't typically see that. Maybe that was why he played that bad, but the Bengals waltzed them. That was just, the Bengals were the better team. So maybe all of that stuff has proper excuses per se, but I'm rolling with the Eagles here. I'm rolling with the Eagles 24-22. I think that this game is going to be close. It's going to be not as high scoring as people think, even though it has the potential to be. But I do think it's going to be a lower scoring, grinded out game that Philly does come out on top on. And I'm just going to quickly go through the rest of these games real quick. You guys would already have seen this by this point, but I do have Dallas winning this game 30-16. I do have the Tennessee Titans. I have them pulling the upset over the Colts 22-18. I think Vrabel as a dog is really good. I also think that at home, they're going to be able to control the pace a little bit more without the Colts having Jonathan Taylor. That matters a lot. Zach Moss is a good backup, but he's not Jonathan Taylor. So I do think that the Tennessee Titans will be able to pull out a win there. The Chargers are going to beat New England. I think New England's going to lose every game for the rest of the season except for that Jets game at the end of the year probably. But if the Patriots were to randomly get a win out of nowhere, it would be this Chargers game. Possibly Bill's is coaching against his next team that he's going to coach for. We don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, you might have heard rumors that Bill gets traded to the Chargers. They try to get someone offensively. But if Caleb Williams is at number one and Bill Belichick and the Patriots have that opportunity to grab him, I could see kind of like Popovich in San Antonio. Is he on his way out? He gets a generational player, Wemby. He stays. Looks like he's having a good time, even though they're losing, because you're able to develop something. Miami, Washington. I think Miami wins this game 27-15. I do think, though, that could be a little interesting. Just weather-wise, it's going to be raining there a little bit too, so you might not get the 40-point barrage. But again, they're more than capable of putting up that same 40-point barrage, so that's going to be interesting to watch. But I got 27-15, big game from Tyreek Hill. And that's all the games for the week. I think I covered everything. So that is this Thursday prediction of all the games for the week. Sunday, again, be on the lookout. Hopefully in the morning, I'm going to be able to get out around 10:30, 11 o'clock before the game's out. What I think some of the best bets are for the week. Maybe a parlay you can place, 2-team, 3-team, possibly some anytime touchdown scores. Some interesting bets there too. But definitely, again, thank you. This was the Nosebleeds with Keenan Warner. Check out The Last Word on NFL. That's this YouTube channel. Check out The Last Word on Sports. That's the site. Podcasts, articles of all sports. Great working with them. Great to be here. I thank all of you. I'm out.